Hello and welcome back to the FPL Tom preview streams ahead of double game week 7. I am joined by my co-host and good friend. I was struggling to find an adjective to describe you there, mate, but you are my good friend. It is Jake. Jake, how was your game week 6?
Not too shabby. Didn't win my head to head, which I think I got a bit of egg on my face towards the end of the weekend. The Newcastle game really rubbed it in my face, but that was just the way it was. Overall, not too bad.
Yeah, yeah. I can see the chat is absolutely exploding tonight with questions. Do keep them coming in throughout the stream. We will try to answer as many as possible, and we will be kind of wrapping up the stream around about 8 o'clock, so you can all go and enjoy the football. And, it is Carabao Cup, but, some of us might care about it, Some big clubs are entering the hat in round 4. Didn't know if you knew, but Mansfield will be in there, so keep your eyes peeled. Keep your eyes peeled. Yeah, I kind of lost my train of thought there. I went to Mansfield, not going to lie. We will start off with your team, Jake, for game week 6. If you want to run us through what happened, what went well, what didn't go so well, and, kind of will lean towards your plans for double game week 7.
All right. I think the clear thing, there's a clear positive and a clear negative, and the clear positive is that I banked my transfer this week, so that means I've got 2 transfers to make, which will pay off considering you can already see I've got 2 Chelsea players who are suspended for the next game week.
Helpful.
Yeah, it is. So it is helpful also the fact that I've got those 2 transfers that I can use. Um, the negative is the fact that I didn't use my transfer on taking Trent out and bringing in a Newcastle player who was, I don't know if I mentioned it on the stream last week. I feel like I might have mentioned it, but I definitely spoke to you, Tom, about it off air. I hope you can vouch for me there.
I don't know. I don't know about this, lad. I don't remember this
But
conversation. This doesn't sound like me.
yeah, but then again, I was doing an iron over Fabian Schär, and he's the one defender that didn't actually get a goal contribution. So I don't know if I would have felt like I'd missed out a little bit there. So maybe it was best that I did just completely avoid the Newcastle game defender wise. I had Anthony Gordon, that paid off. There was a bit of pre-match laughing going on in the chat where Anthony Gordon was starting on the bench. That aged well, but wasn't enough to get me through the head-to-head week. But he did well considering he started the game on the bench. Luck was on my side this week. It wasn't the week before because, of course, Martinelli went off injured. Trossard came on about 20 minutes in and won the game for Arsenal this week. And I'd taken Trossard out this week, had Anthony Gordon in, and he got the nod to come on and replace. Who was it that he came on for? Harvey Barnes.
Harvey Barnes, who now subsequently has been ruled out for at least a few months.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So that just makes Gordon more of a valuable asset, I would say.
Yeah.
So yeah, really paid off with bringing him in. He got me an assist last week in the Brentford game, and he's contributed greatly in this weekend's games. So I'm happy with how that went. The one reason I think I opted to stick with what I had was the fact that you mentioned that Mark Gahey was back in training. That paid off because I put him in. And end of the day, I think until the Newcastle game, I probably would have won my head-to-head had bloody Gusto not been sent off. I don't actually know how it works. It's an interesting question for you. But had he made the 65th minute, let's say, and got sent off, would he have still had the clean sheet?
Yeah.
Or does that not work?
Yeah, he still would have had the clean sheet at that point.
So I think he got sent off in the 58th minute or something.
Heavy that.
Yeah, so he was close to getting the clean sheet, which he then probably was at fault for in truth, considering they're down to 10 men.
Yeah.
I saw a stat. I think it was the XG philosophy or whatever it is on Twitter, and they were saying that Chelsea have won every single game this season on XG.
Yeah.
So they're doing something. They're doing something right, but they just are doing so. Like they just have Nicholas Jackson up front. I guess is the issue.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, so do I. And now he's suspended. He had one job, as you said, and he went and got booked. So he's out of the next game week, which isn't ideal. But yeah, it is a bummer. I had, of course, Matty Cash on the bench. It was a bit of a toss-up. I was putting Gusto in purely for the fact they were at home. not for form, because really I probably was a bit foolish not to put cash in, but I didn't want to contradict the fact that I was confident Jackson would do something. And that may be the biggest fool I've made out of myself of the lot. Maybe having Cash and Gusto would have made more sense if Jackson was benched. But that is what it is. Team did well. Son made me feel a little bit better after last week when I took him out for a -4, leaving. When I took Richarlison out for him, conceding a -4, and then Richarlison being the hero. Had I not taken Richarlison out, I probably would have benefited last week, not taking him out this week because I'd have been like, oh, he'll
Start, yeah.
start, and then would have seen Son and been like, oh, I probably should have just done it anyway. Son's going to be that reliable man, so I guess I've just got to take that on the chin. Happy that Salah did well. I think I mentioned this also to you. Like, I feel like with Haaland, you captain him because you bank on him to do more than just score a goal.
Mm.
Uh, if I know, if I'd known, and I don't know if anyone else is with me on this, but if I know before the game week that Haaland for a fact will just score a goal and that'll be it, I would captain someone else because I'd be confident that someone would do slightly more than that. Don't get me wrong, that may go against me like one or two times, but more chance than not, Haaland's not going to be the only guy that's getting more than a goal. It's just usually Haaland scores a hatful of goals.
True, true.
But yeah, it's one of those really, which does lead me nicely onto my decision for who to captain next week. But we'll get onto that when we get onto it. Um, what do you think? I feel like it went all right. I think Collins is a pile of shit. I hope he's not watching this stream, but I was watching the Everton game and he just kept giving the ball away, and then he was at fault for Calvert-Lewin's goal.
Yeah, with kind of Brentford, I think it's a little bit of a difficult position because I've kind of been looking at Brian and Buemo this week as well. If I was to wildcard, and obviously Brentford are picking up numerous amounts of injuries at the moment. Rico Henry going off. I think Ben Mee's got an injury at the moment. Who's the other guy who's gone out? Sharda as well. So there's quite a lot of injuries starting to pick up in that Brentford side, and you just look at it in the Everton game. They weren't impressive. Brian Mbeumo was one of those players, and it is making me think like, should I be having any Brentford players for like future game weeks? Probably not. Nathan Collins, like you said, was dismal to say the least. I think upon reflection of like looking at your team, that Trent to Newcastle transfer probably would have been wise, but it like you said, it does leave you in a position this week where you do have 2 free transfers. Obviously, you've got quite a few players to deal with, and it looks like Trent is back in training at least, so he might be an available option. Yes, the fixture this week isn't great. Next week's Brighton as well, so it's not the greatest. But if you are looking to potentially delay that wild card until game week 9, game week 10, at least he's a playing option. So, with hindsight, maybe it wasn't the best idea, but going into this week now, you have 2 free transfers. You could still take a -4 this week as well to get maybe a double game week player in there. There's so much you can do with those 2 free transfers. So, and if you were going to pick Shaw as well, like I feel like you've probably got away with on every other defender, scored or assisted. So, those were the ones where you were kind of like, you probably would be really kicking yourself. The thing I wanted to ask you was actually about Aston Villa and kind of Chelsea. Do we kind of see Chelsea as potentially like, when it's a red on the ticker or a grey? With the form that they're in 2023 as a whole, do you see them as kind of a red side? Or should they be a side where we feel confident in our ability to play assets?
I think it's a weird one with Chelsea because I do feel like they're still a difficult team to score against purely for the fact that they are the team that control the game and have the ball for most of the match.
Yeah.
So they're not conceding like shed loads of goals. They're conceding on the break, or they're conceding a set piece. They're conceding that one goal where the team will then just sit back even more. So Chelsea, like I said, are having plenty of chances and just don't have the attacker to actually finish them. And it seems like no one else on the pitch is able to do so either. So that doesn't help. So maybe it would be one of those where maybe you'd back an asset in defence over an asset up front. It depends on what their run is and what players you're considering. Like, for example, who is it that Chelsea play next week?
Good question. It's Fulham, so I don't think anyone's even going to bother going near a Fulham player. But maybe
There
I
you go.
would be tempted to play Leno because at the moment he's just FPL's golden boy, isn't he?
He has an unbelievable record of shot stopping and all this, that, and the other. And even if he does nothing, he'll get 3 bonus points.
True.
Meanwhile, Chelsea have a great ability of not being able to find the back of the net. So it seems like it's got 0-0 written all over it.
Yeah, definitely.
Go
We
for
are,
it.
yeah. We have had a few questions, so we'll get to them before we move on to your plans for game week 7. Sorry. Ella's asked, is Ward-Prowse a good player to go for this game week? I think personally, yes. I think West Ham's fixtures, they have a really good run in game week.
He's just risen in price, I believe.
Has he just risen? Apparently OBS is just disconnected, which is never good.
Yeah, I believe I saw on FPL on Twitter that he was a price riser.
Okay, hang on. I think we might have lost... Oh, no, apparently he's reconnected. So if the stream did drop out, apologies. I don't know what happened, but I don't think it did.
I'm still watching myself, so it seems to be all right.
Yeah, it just come up. It just popped up saying OBS is disconnected, which is always fun. So yeah, I think Ward-Prowse could be an option, to be honest. Obviously, Sheffield United have conceded the most goals from set pieces so far this season. West Ham are a brilliant team at set plays. It's something David Moyes has always kind of had a knack for when he was at Everton, when he's been at West Ham as well. So I definitely think he is an option to potentially go for. We know what his kind of dead ball pieces are, but for me personally, I just think I prefer Jared Bowen. I don't know if you feel the same or not.
He's just been so consistent this season, hasn't he?
Yeah.
And of course, I understand that Ward-Prowse has been playing really well. He does seem to be playing slightly more advanced, considering they've got Alvarez to sit back and Souček. And of course, they've got the aerial prowess at set pieces, so they can benefit from Ward-Prowse's delivery expertise. But if there's going to be an opportunity just in open play, it's more likely to fall to Bowen, as we've seen countless times this season. He's been scoring against the big sides. It doesn't seem to faze him, whoever they play. But it's to be honest though, it's one of those really where like you can't decide, you can't guarantee which way it's going to go. And quite frankly, Trippier benefited from all these crosses against Sheffield United. They've got Sheffield United next. If they're going to get set pieces and corners, you bank on West Ham to be beating the Sheffield players to the ball, and it's going to be Ward-Prowse with the assist. So maybe against Sheffield, Ward-Prowse might be more beneficial for that aerial battle, crossing the ball into maybe a centre back or something.
Well, in the Newcastle game, they actually conceded a corner and a free kick. So you're looking at that and going, oh, maybe James Ward-Prowse might be the one for this week, But I don't know. I just can't get over Jared Bowen for me personally.
I understand that though. I do get that.
Yeah, I think he's just a better asset, to be honest. We've had some other questions. We've had Luke ask us, Estepinian or Colwell?
Say that again.
Estepinian or Colwell, mate? Did you cut out?
No, I thought you said about 14 different names.
Oh.
I can see it in front of me, to be honest. I might as well do that. I'd probably go for Estepinian, to be honest.
Yeah, I probably would as well.
Colwell's not going to provide any, well, unless it's a set piece and a fluky goal or something. It's more likely Estepinian's going to have some kind of attacking outlay. I can see Colwell keeping a clean sheet, and of course, I think Brighton have Villa, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
Away to Villa. I understand why you'd maybe be more tempted to go for Colwell based on the clean sheet, but for an attacking outcome, it's more likely to be Estepinian that's going to be providing some form of assist, you'd say. But maybe you wouldn't bank on them to keep a clean sheet at Villa.
Yeah. Right, final question, then we'll move on to your team. Is Morris worth a -4 since it's a double game week?
Depends who he's taken out, I think.
That is a very good point.
And who's the other transfer?
That is true. That is true. I don't think the double... I actually watched the Luton game in full at the weekend, and my God, they are dismal. They are dismal. Even though the fact Wolves went down to 10 men, they still look just rubbish. Like they were just crossing the ball and hoping someone was there.
Saying that though, remember the highlights? He had about four chances.
He did, but the highlights made him look a lot better than he actually was. Like I watched the game in pain, to be honest. So, yeah, it made me feel very fortunate for that Morris penalty, to be honest.
It was
But
justified, lad. Completely justified.
not the dodgiest penalty I've ever seen. No, no. We will move on to talk about your team selection ahead of Game Week 7. You also have the 2 free transfers to kind of talk us through your transfer plans and the way you've set your team up at the moment.
Well, I mean, I think I am going to be one of those that goes for Morris captain. Um, Haaland away to Wolves, you'd think he'd score. He
Yeah,
could score a hat trick. Who knows how that'll go? But I like to be as different as I can. I like to avoid captaining Haaland just to avoid the boredom. Just have a bit more excitement. Um, you can find yourself chasing shadows if you're not careful. Um, but I'm going to go for it. I think Captain Morris. It depends, of course, who I end up going for, transfer wise, because of course I've got a very dodgy bench right now.
just a little
Trent,
bit.
I don't know if he's going to make it back in time. I don't know. Like if he's back in training, you'd imagine he'd play because it's quite a big game.
Yeah,
Um, but then again, maybe we'll start him on the bench, and it's just one of those really where do you want to take the risk of like only getting a 1 pointer? I'm not too sure, but I think the the clear changes need to be made in the two players at Chelsea that just don't seem to be the ones. I'm not too sure what Chelsea's run's like and whether it's something I need to look into before I just rush into taking the two out,
it's not
or if I
great.
do, well, there you go then. But then again, it's one of those where you could maybe just rush and take them up because of purely how poor they've played. But then you'd like to think that the form would turn eventually, considering how much the statistics would suggest that they should be scoring and winning games.
True.
Um, but maybe that means that Nicholas Jackson isn't the answer. Um, but yeah, depends what's going on with Reece James as well. He should be back soon, you'd imagine. But then I saw him. Was he charged with like? Is he being charged today with like improper conduct with a referee or something?
Yeah, yeah. So
Don't know if
that's
that give him a suspension. Um, so yeah, it's something to definitely consider. Um, I like that Pickford's at home to Luton. I'm not against that. And I mean, if Luton are going to score a goal, you can imagine that Morris is involved.
yeah.
So it should benefit me either way. Haaland's got to play, of course. I like Gibbs White against Brentford. I think Forest could give Brentford a game, especially being at home. Brentford have looked a bit shaky, not shaky, just they've just looked seemed a bit like they've just seemed a bit off the boil. I don't know if
Mm.
that's the best way to describe them. They don't look terrible. They just seem like a bit lethargic or whatever. I don't know. Just the spark's gone a little bit at Brentford, but I'm sure at one point it'll come back and they'll start winning games again.
Yeah.
Probably when we go and visit them, but we'll see. Um, got Son against Salah, bit of a fight against each other in the same game. But that being said, I'm sure those two have scored in the same game before. Son does like a goal against Liverpool, and Salah likes a goal against Spurs. So it's one of those really where I'm not going to drop either of them. Um, Almost a win-win to be honest, because at least if Son goes on some rampage, at least I had him in my team.
True.
So yeah, I'm not confident enough to bench him, especially at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium where he does seem to play extremely. I mean, I say he plays extremely well. He plays extremely well on his day. On his day, he could score anywhere, couldn't he? But the same goes for Salah, so I'm happy with that. Not too sure about my Crystal Palace too. They were very underwhelming last night. I know it was only the League Cup, you could say, but it wasn't like they weren't like they were playing the kids. And United weren't really playing the kids either. It was a fairly. I feel like it wasn't too far from what maybe we can expect at the weekend. Of course, that can happen where you play each other twice in the week, once in the cup, once in the league, and the results can spin on their head. Who knows how that'll go? I'm not too sure about that. I think if I do make those transfers, taking out the Chelsea players or taking out someone, I think those two may miss out this week. Don't see myself taking out Schlupp though this week. I think he'll stay on the bench.
Oh, that is what I want to hear. Jeffrey Schlupp remaining in the team, the
Yeah,
staple of that team.
Of course he is. Even if he is just sitting on the bench, he's all about the team morale.
The backbone.
Exactly. Um, yeah, and then finally Matty Cash, home to Brighton. He just seems to get quite a few chances. To be fair, maybe that'd be somewhere else. I'd opt to put someone in. Depends what happens with Trent. If I maybe swap those two around, if I hear anything about him maybe playing. But Cash, I feel like he's a solid person to have on your team. I know it's against Brighton. That game could go either way. But if I were to back someone, I think I would back Villa to keep clean sheets over Brighton purely because it's at Villa Park. Because
Yeah.
I don't really see that being a high scoring game. I think they may cancel each other out a little bit. But yeah, overall, I feel like I've done the best that I can so far, but I have got two transfers. I know you said my team looked absolutely appalling in your own words last night.
Whoops.
Um, but yeah, I feel like as long as I can maybe make the most of these two transfers, maybe take out the Palace boys for whoever I decide to bring in, it could look a lot better. Don't know what if you recommend me bringing in a Burnley or a Luton player, considering I've got a free transfer, because that would save some extra funds up yet again.
Uh, it would. It would. I just think there's maybe other priorities to target. When are you thinking of wildcarding? That would be my
I don't, to
question.
be honest, mate.
Okay.
Take it 1 week at a time. It's one of those where I'll probably just come to you 1 week and be like,
I've
yeah, so I've got
wildcarded.
my idea.
um,
I think you said game week 9 there was a big fixture change. I like the sound of that.
it's just after an
Don't-
international break as well, so
Yeah, so that would be nice. I don't see myself being as patient as it sounds like you might be. Um, I think I will be keen to change it up sooner rather than later. But for the time being, I'm not too disheartened by that starting 11. Um, I like the look of Bryn Larson at
mm,
Burnley.
mm,
The look of, is it Trevor or something like that? He had some really good statistics. I think it was in Serie A or somewhere like that. One of the top five leagues. He had some. Was it top five leagues? Am I just making a mug of myself? It could have been something like it. What could be like the Conference North? But he definitely did come from abroad,
yeah,
and
sure, sure.
the statistic came up. Where was it he came from?
I don't know. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, well, he came from abroad, and it came up on his name
Mm.
when I was watching them against United that he'd had the top assists or something last season, and I don't know, but for some reason Atlanta's coming into my head, but that's absolute bollocks. So please don't quote me on that.
Right, right.
Uh, it was probably Weldstone, but like
Yeah.
one or the other. Um, but yeah, no, I like the look of him, especially with, of course, Lyle Foster, who would have been the banker. He's not going to be playing, so I know you've got your eyes on someone else, but I'll let you spill that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where I'm going, but there's still 48 hours before I have to panic.
Well, I'm thinking, right? You've got two free transfers. It's a double
Yeah.
game week. If you're gonna wildcard in 9, you might as well have some fun and dead end your team into game week 9.
Okay, and how would you do that?
So, I think maybe going for the Burnley striker that I spoke to you about. I can't remember the name off the top of my head.
Anduni, is it?
Anduni, I think. So maybe go Anduni for Jackson.
Mm.
I think maybe get like a Bowen if you could in there at somewhere.
Mm.
Right, I think for the next 2 weeks, just focus on the next 2 weeks fixtures and just like go for it if you're gonna wildcard
Well,
in 9.
I don't see myself taking one of those midfielders out Barschlup, and he has to stay, doesn't he?
Well, not
Um,
necessarily.
oh, but but like you make a good point about West Ham, and also considering they're playing against the side that have just shipped goals to defenders, maybe taking Gusto out for a West Ham defender might not be a bad shout.
Yeah, that could also be a shout as well. So you could maybe do the two transfers there: Jackson to Adoni, Gusto to a
Cat
West
kicker.
Ham. Yeah, Cat Kicker Zuma, maybe someone like that. And then you could even take a -4 because you've brought in another double game weeker, hoping that that covers it to target the next 2 weeks. I'm thinking maybe an Everton player. They've got Luton and who have they got in game week 8? It's someone else crap. It's Bournemouth at home.
Oh, okay.
So I'm just thinking if you're gonna wildcard in 9, Might as well just try and have a bit of fun with the next 2 weeks. Target, crap fixtures, and just hope for the best.
I like that. I like that thinking. It's you're almost compromising for my way of thinking, and I rate it. I rate it greatly.
Well,
I think
you've got the get out of jail free card in game week 9, then, haven't you? So it resets the team. You can have a little bit of fun for the next 2 weeks, and then you can start afresh with a brand new team after the international break. Then go and attack that. I think that makes perfect sense.
no, I completely agree with that. Nice one, FPL Tom.
I wish I had that kind of reasoning behind my team. Not, that meme from Always Sunny where he's just like scribbling and there's just all like diagrams and like letters and everything. That's kind of been my planning for this week. That bit of the wall where you can't quite see it, there's just scribbles and it's just like Morris written in like poo and piss. So yeah, I'm going a little bit mental. If my dad is watching, don't get me sectioned. I promise I'm all right. I do promise. But yeah, any final thoughts, Jake, before we move on?
I've just got to take a second to brace myself. You've warned me.
Well, we're going to start off with the points. That's nice and steady. This week went really well for me, to be honest. About a 300k rank boost, which is always great to see. At one point, I was at like 80k. I think that was like middle of Sunday, like half time in some of the games. Like everything was just going correct. And then Chilwell decided to come on.
Are you not the mate of mine that's in the top 8k?
No. Sorry, pal. I don't know who that guy is. I think it's like Puis Saxton or something. Like that sounds about... Yeah. He sounds about right. But yeah, I think there's some stuff that went really well. Johnson in goal has now become an issue that I don't have to worry about anymore, which is good. After Dean Henderson's injury last night, which looked kind of a bit severe, to be honest. So I think Johnson's... I don't know. I just saw on Twitter everywhere like, oh, he's out. He's going to be out for a while with that one. And I was like, oops. I'll take it, though. So yeah, it looks like Johnson's going to stay. He should have picked up all the bonus points. I'm not sure how Leno got them over him. He made more saves. He was more impactful in the game as well. So that was a little bit frustrating. Botman was my sensible transfer from Rico Henry. That went really well. Very happy with that. Estepinian picking up an assist. Great. Chilwell, big issue. Absolute donkey. And Buemo looked rubbish out wide. He's now a bit of an issue. Bruno scored a great goal. And I think with United's good fixtures coming up, he's not an issue. So I'm happy to hold him. Saka did the business in the North London derby, but has now potentially picked up an injury. So that's a little bit crap. Same with James Maddison. Great in the North London derby. Very happy to hold him. But again, is he injured? Is he not injured? There's kind of, before we went live, I saw a picture of some Spurs players training. And it might be Maddison in the back. People were like proper trying to like zoom in and see if it was him. But yeah. Eze is a really frustrating player to own, to be honest. I really don't know what to do with him. Because everything goes through him at Crystal Palace. And it looks like at the weekend, he should have had a penalty. I don't know why it wasn't like reviewed by VAR or anything. They just kind of dismissed it. Clearly cleaned out. Should have been a penalty. But then at the same time, Palace just looks so slow going forward. Like Jeffrey Schlupp, Odsonne Edouard. I think Eze will only become like a really good asset for me when Elise is back. Because at the moment, he seems like he's just trying to drag a car that doesn't have any wheels. It's got like rocks in the back as well, and he's just proper trying to take this team forward, but it's just not moving. So it's quite frustrating owning him. Haaland, yeah, we spoke about him. He scored the penalty, great for him. Carlton Morris is an absolute G, and I'm so glad I bought him in, and he got his scruffy little penalty. So we're happy with that. And then on the bench, Kabore getting a lucky assist, but looked quite good. So I definitely am happy to play him in this upcoming game week. Adogi obviously got absolutely skinned alive in that first half by Saka, which is a little bit of a concern because maybe if I need him in future game weeks, is Postecoglou maybe going to look at that game and go, well, Adogi didn't do quite as well against these top teams, so maybe am I going to put Emerson Royale in? That was my kind of thought. I think he will still stick with Adogi because he has been so good.
Got
But
Salah next.
this is what I mean. Salah potentially could absolutely skin him alive. And the position that my team's in, I might need a Dogie to come off the bench or play the game. But yeah, so that was the team for this week. It did all right. Good rank gain. I've got to be happy with that. But there's a lot to think about for this upcoming game week with injuries, with suspensions, and with just people being absolutely dog water. So I think we stop the foreplay. We just dive straight in. It is looking pretty crap. I'm not gonna lie. At the moment, without any transfers, I've only got one transfer available at the kind of time that we're streaming, and as you can tell, the team is crap. We've got Turner, we've got Botman, we've got Kabore, Estepinian, Adoji, Chilwell, and Buemo, Bruno Fernandes, Eze, Haaland, and Morris. And then on the bench, Johnson, Maddison, Saka, and Nicholas Jackson. Yeah, it looks like a steaming pile of shit. I'm not going to lie. It's not in a good position. Yeah, I'm just seeing your facial reaction looking at it going, that is one honky team, Tom.
Well, I don't mind the keeper. I don't mind Botman.
No.
Kabore should play because he's got a double.
Yeah.
Estepinian, that's
Whatever.
fair enough.
Yeah.
I think Chilwell really sucks because I don't know why he's been dropped. He seems to be so good. So that makes no sense whatsoever. And that's no fault of your own. Then there's Udogie. Yeah, I get your point, but I feel like they've got such a good run of games after Liverpool.
Yeah,
so even
I'm not going to sell him. He's going to stay.
Exactly. And Waymo, he's a question, isn't he? Bruno's fine. Eze, yeah, like I agree with the shit stones. And then yeah, up front makes sense. So you know what? I don't think I do feel like you'll be fine if you make the right transfer. That transfer is, mind you.
Well, mate. There has been so many plans this week while I've been at work, just on FPL.team, like scribbling out plans. The one that I think I'm probably most in favour of is I'm planning on holding my wildcard till game week 19, because if City go out tonight, this is a big thing, which might seem like so inconsequential, but it actually has a larger impact. And if City go out tonight, it means when they go off to the Club World Cup in game week 18 and their fixture with Brentford is postponed, it means it will go into game week 20. That would mean that City would play Sheffield United and Brentford as a double. So if I could wildcard into that, I could have 3 City players. I could have maybe 2 Brentford players as well, as I think their fixture is actually okay as well. Let me just load that up in game week 20. So yeah, basically I could build a team to take full advantage of that, play the triple captain with Haaland as well, because why would you not? Sheffield United in any fixture would be a great double for Haaland.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they would have Crystal Palace and City as a double, Brentford, which isn't the worst. And then the week after they'd play Forest. So again, I wouldn't be like massively needing to sell the assets straight off the back. So that's the plan there. Well, that was the plan before injury crisis and everything else started happening. So I think the plan is, if Saka's injured, I would move to Jared Bowen and I would take Chilwell out for Matty Cash. And then,
so you'd -4 it?
Yeah, I'd take a -4. I'd bring in Bowen versus Sheffield United and I'd take Matty Cash for that. So I'd have basically a good side to put out.
Would you be taking Waymo out or Saka?
I'd take Saka out if Saka's injured. That's if Saka's injured.
Do you not think he'll just miss this game then?
Well, this is the thing. The fixtures afterwards aren't too great either. Because I think even if Saka plays this week, my plan then originally was to go to Salah in game week 8 for him. Because your fixtures turn around game week 9 where you have like Everton, Luton, and I think like Fulham. I was like, Forest, yeah. So that's a really, really good fixture run that I want to take advantage of and potentially maybe look to captain Salah during that time period as well.
Yeah.
So that's option 1, which I've kind of worked out longer plans as well, but I don't want to get my crazy like scribbles up or I'm going to look like a lunatic. Then there's the wild card option, and I think that could be an option if we get news that Maddison, Saka, are all out. I think that could be an option. Because then I'd have 4 players realistically to deal with at that point. I'd still have Eze in the team, who I'm not fond of at the moment. I'd have Mbuemo as well, very similar situation. So I'm probably looking at 6 or 7 players there that I wouldn't be very happy owning or need to remove. So wildcard might become an option. Then there's the option to just not play any transfers. That's an option, and take 2 into next week and take a -4 next week.
Would you start what you've got, or if it was that what you're seeing now? So Maddison and Saka are just a doubt, and you didn't know. Would you keep them on your bench?
No, I put them in.
Yeah,
I put them in and hope if they're gonna play, great, they're gonna play the full game. That I think I'd only make no transfers if we got positive news around their press conferences.
Yeah.
If we got no news, I'd probably be a little bit more hesitant, and I'd probably make at least 2 transfers.
Wasn't there talk about Saka being not used by Arteta? Didn't he say it's unlikely he's going to make the match?
Yeah, he basically said he's not trained yet, so it's just a bit
not ideal.
It's not ideal, is it? But hopefully in his later press conference this week, he might go oh, he's trained, he's back within the squad, whatever. Then that's one less potential issue I could worry about this week.
Yeah.
And then there's another option where I take Jackson out for, is it Adoni, we said, from Burnley?
Mm-hmm. Andoni, I think.
Yeah. And basically have kind of a bit of fun like you, and wildcard in 9 or 10. So basically dead end my team. So I think I'd go Adoni in. I think I'd go Bowen in this week as well. Fully target this week, and then next week I'd go Saka to Son, and just fully target the Luton fixture next week. Have 3 Spurs players against Luton, and hope they absolutely batter them. So that would be my idea of fun, if you like. But
I like the sound of fun.
Yeah. That's what I mean. It is fun when you can have fun situations like that, where you can just dead end it and just have a bit of fun, play out the mess. But there's definitely a lot of kind of moving parts at the moment. I think a lot of it is heavily reliant on kind of team news and stuff like that, which is always a bit of a pain. But hopefully we can find out some positive team news, or if it is negative, then wildcard active and all that good stuff. But yeah,
what do you think about Everton, who are home to Luton and Bournemouth, both home games?
Yeah.
Or West Ham, who are home to Sheffield United and Newcastle?
Yeah, this is the thing. See, I am really, really tempted to target the Everton fixtures. We spoke, was it the weekend we spoke?
Mm-hmm.
About James Tarkowski, as I was if I was wildcarded in 9, I would have been really tempted to go for him, but then he's just scored and got an assist, so I don't think he's going to do it again.
Yeah, his work's done, isn't it?
Yeah, he's had his go now. It's Branthwaite's go or Ashley Young's go. You know what I mean? It's a different one's go, but yeah, I definitely think they are 2 really good fixtures, and they did look quite good against Brentford. Maybe DCL. Maybe he's back.
The thing is, though, he might be back, but I do feel like it's going to take a lot of convincing of Sean Dyche to put the 2 up top together.
Oh, he's not going to do that.
Yeah, exactly. So he likes them both. I think he wants to keep them both happy, and they both do put a shift in.
Yeah.
Calvert-Lewin is so fragile, but when he's on the bench, he's going to make an appearance. So you can't really guarantee either of them are going to stay on the pitch for more than 60 minutes.
Yeah.
That's the only issue I would have about those 2.
Yeah. So overall, I have no real clue, to be honest. I've got multiple plans. It's all dependent on certain stuff and different stuff.
I don't like your captaincy choice, I must say.
Yeah, it's a bit bland, isn't it? I should just.
Are you not going Morris?
No, I'm not going Morris.
You boring bastard.
I can't.
You've got a chance of a double here, and you're not taking it.
I can't do it, lad. I can't captain Carlton Morris. I think.
I heard FPL Lewis is gonna triple captain Morris.
FPL Lewis can do whatever he wants. To be honest, he ain't keeping that 7K rank. I don't care what he says.
He's going up to the. That's why.
Speaking of Carlton Morris, that's just reminded me. That was the quickest sip of water anyone's ever seen. we have got a Carlton Morris kind of section in the video. I've titled it Carlton Morris Season. We are going to look at his kind of underlying data.
Thought.
Yeah. Thought of that one myself, you know. Proper big G. Proper
quite
big
quirky.
It's original. It is original.
It really is. Yeah,
I don't know if it's loaded in for you, Jake, or the stream might be a little bit behind. But yeah, the stats should be on screen. But I kind of wanted to talk about, you know, our feelings towards Carlton Morris. Obviously, both me and you own him. People are potentially looking at maybe bringing him in this week. Why should people join us on this Carlton Morris season?
Well, because he seems to be. Is he still the only guy that has had every goal contribution that they've scored?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that says a lot. You are right. They are a pile of shit at the moment, and it is worrying. But considering they have a double, they have a considerably better looking on paper double than Burnley do because of that away trip to Newcastle. That being said, I can't even say I actually feel like Burnley have played better football than Luton. So who knows how that game will go at Kenilworth Road, because I actually feel like Burnley could fancy themselves. But then they're without. I know we mentioned Anduni, but of course Lyle Foster started the game really strong, and I think we were both had him on our minds.
Yeah.
So now that he's got himself suspended, I think Carlton Morris just seems a bit like a no-brainer. Like, even if he does nothing, he's getting you 4 points. It's more than any of the other strikers that fail to do anything are going to get. Don't get me wrong, could go and jinx myself and have an Emmanuel Dennis 2.0.
True.
But the odds are in Morris's favour, even if they're not in Luton's, is how I'd put it. Because you'd bank on him to play both games unless he does something really stupid. And so you're bringing in someone that's going to get you 4 points, rather than avoiding him and going for someone else where if they don't do anything, they're only going to get 2. So there's one thing to put. Once again, of course, Luton rely on him for any kind of goal contribution. He's on the penalties. He did have a couple of chances, it seemed, against Wolves. Granted, the rest of the team did look a bit poor, and he was only like feeding off scraps and, of course, couldn't even score except for when it was a penalty. So it's one of those things, really, where I just think it's a punt worth taking because of the fact that it's a double game week and there are no other options really to go for in this double. Like I said, maybe you'd go for a Burnley player if you can only choose one or the other, but Morris's fixtures are just ever so slightly nicer than Burnley's.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Jamie's made a great point as well. It takes Jackson 4 weeks to get 4 points.
Yeah, exactly.
He's
exactly.
so true. He's so
Absolutely
true.
Eyeing in the goal scoring tables, Morris over Jackson, and no one thought twice about bringing him in. So
exactly. He is one of the top scoring forwards in the game, and you do look at the forward kind of situation, and there's no one really that you'd have to say is like absolutely killing it at the moment. Obviously, you've got Haaland, Julian Alvarez, but then we saw at the weekend he's susceptible to potential Pep roulette. You know, Jackson didn't work out for a lot of people. Ollie Watkins has only scored 1 goal. I know he's been picking up steady assists, but again, not.
Did someone say Darwin Núñez?
Mate, I was going to say this, Darwin Núñez, but then again, he's got that threat of just coming off in the 60th minute because of the quality you've got on the bench. Whereas you feel with Carlton Morris, if they take him off, they go in, well, who are we bringing on here, lads?
Yeah, that is true.
I think if you've got a 4.5 million kind of dud sat on your bench, I think it's worth an upgrade to Morris for the double to take a full advantage of it. I think if you're wildcarding as well in game week 9, game week 10, fully worth it again, like we said with Jake, dead ending your team into that, taking advantage of this double and great fixtures. And I definitely think it's something to potentially look at, joining the Carlton Morris season.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm glad we're in agreement, mate. We're in agreement.
For
once, yeah, we're always bickering.
We're always at each fucking throat.
Yeah, it's like a marriage, isn't it? It's just like a marriage.
I don't know why you introduced me as good friend rather than lover. I really don't understand why.
Yeah, I got a bit confused. I forgot what title we were going down as in public.
We need to have that talk.
Yeah. We need a big chat after this. Big chat. Anyway, enough to do with the housekeeping. We're going to move on to our final segment, and of course, it is a popular favourite that was here last week. It is Bed Shitter of the Week, ladies and gentlemen. This is where me and Jake nominate one player that you guys vote on as Bed Shitters of the Week. And then we kind of put forward who we think might be a bed shitter for next week. It's a very simple premise. I mean, there's not much that can really go wrong with it, to be honest. But yeah, Jake, who's going to be your bed shitter of the week?
I think he's on the screen.
Which one? Which one?
I think it's really harsh to say Ben Chilwell's a bed shitter, but I get why you put that because we're just talking fantasy points and how reliable he is, and you would expect him to be playing. But at the end of the day, if Chilwell had played the game, you can't be sure that he wouldn't have contributed something. Whereas Jackson plays every single game and does absolutely nothing except gets booked. So I feel like it's a no-brainer out of those two. Unless someone can think of something else. Did Jackson win last week? Are we going for a record?
Of course he did.
Oh, Nicholas. Well, fortunately, he's not going to make it 3 in a row at the very least because he's suspended next week.
True. So you're going Nicholas Jackson?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I am just updating the poll. Bit of dead silence, you know. It's what people love. I think I'm going to go with the man on screen, to be honest. The other man on screen. I think I am going to go Ben Chilwell. It's not only the fact he came on so late in the game to deny me personally Kabore points off the bench. It's the fact then he went and did what he did last week as well, where he got booked. So he came away with 0. Absolutely nothing, which is the worst part about it. So, you know, both of them are just war criminals in terms of FPL. So I'm going to put Chilwell.
I guess at least Jackson got a point.
He did. But he also got himself suspended for next week. So I think that's what I'm going to go with. We're going to have Chilwell versus Morris. Not Morris. That's next week. Chilwell versus Jackson for bed shitter of the week. Get your votes in, and we will award them. Yeah, award them the illustrious nomination of bed shitter of the week. Obviously, Jackson didn't come and collect his award last week, which was disappointing, to be honest. We got him a nice little trophy, and
yeah, but he can come and collect it this weekend whilst he's doing nothing.
He can pick up the double. You know, it's a great advertisement. So do get your votes in for bed shitter of the week, an illustrious award that every single player wants to win. While the votes are kind of racking in, we will kind of put forward our candidates as potential bed shitters for next week. Jake, I'll let you go first. Who have you got?
I think Morris is really, as much as we punt on him, there is going to be that underlying pressure on him, and I'm sure he is aware of it. Everyone's going to be talking about it at Luton, being like, lad, we've triple captained you, we've captained you, we've brought you in, taking a -4 for you. And so hopefully he can take that on his shoulders and carry us all to some success.
Yeah.
That if he doesn't, he will be right up there with bed shitter, especially if he goes and gets it. I think it'll be a write-off if he gets himself suspended from the second game. That would be a joke. Or if he goes against everything I've said about the guarantee of 4 points and gets booked each game and does nothing else, so finishes with 2 points like anyone else would have done. So that's one for sure. I think Mbuemo might be a good shout. I think he could be a bed shitter because a lot of people are doubting him. A lot of people are getting a bit fed up with him, but they may just have one last go with him, considering they're playing Forest, who I think Brentford fans would like to be able to fancy that game. It may be against a Forest side who do seem to be fairly free scoring, to say the least. They might be free conceding as well, but then if that's the case, then Brentford and FPL fans should be able to back Mbuemo to score. But he needs to this week, otherwise he's probably going to lose a lot of faith from a lot of FPL fans.
Yep, his head will be on the chopping block, most certainly, to be honest. My contender is going to be Jordan Pickford. I feel people who've held out...
You just say someone from my team every week.
I do feel, though, like Pickford owners are going to be seeing this week and they're going to go, Luton, right. Surely this is the week Jordan Pickford gets himself a clean sheet. This is it. This is the big one for Jordan Pickford. And it just honks of him getting an own goal, conceding a sloppy penalty, just something proper stinky against Luton.
Or getting injured in the 13th minute and then they win 1-0.
Yeah. It honestly
the clean sheet goes to Everton on his bench. Was it Lon?
It just reeks, to be honest, mate. Like, it's prime Luton material, to be honest. That they are just going to, win that game against Everton. Pickford's going to have an absolute stinker. 1 or 2 points. He'll probably get a yellow card for, like, time wasting or something. Something proper petty. Just to add that little bit of fuel to the fire. I can already see it on Twitter already. So I've gone for Pickford. You've gone for Carlton, Morris, and Buemo. But yeah, they could all be very good candidates for this week, to be honest. It looks like the poll has had quite a few votes. So we are going to end it here as the bed shitter of the week for Game Week 6. And you will be surprised to learn that Nicholas Jackson has won it with 100% of the votes. So congratulations, Nicholas. Your award will be at the address if you want to get in contact with me at FPLTom_ on Twitter. I'll send over my address. We can have a photo together, me and you in the award. You've got 2 to collect. Oh yeah, sorry. Awards. We're gonna have 2 awards here for you to collect. It is just a giant piece of shit. So yeah. So thank you for your contributions to FPL and all the good work that you've done. And keep up the good work, mate. Keep it up. Keep it up. We will kind of finish within about 5 minutes or so. Any final questions that you've got for me and Jake, get them in now. This is probably the best time. I'm just looking through the chat, see if we've had any. Oh, Jamie said Romero as a potential bed shitter. A lot of people brought him in. Obviously, own goal, conceded the penalty as well. It's a very good shout, that, Jamie. Very good shout.
I like that. Hey, we're Liverpool are bed shitting already.
Are you 1-0 down?
Yeah.
Oh, well, Liverpool away's off the cards then, isn't it?
No, it's going to be Leicester away, I'm telling you.
Oh, I don't want
You're going to
Leicester
get
away.
Leicester away now.
I don't
and you're going to
want
go,
it.
fuck's sake, Liverpool.
Oh, not Leicester away. Right, I always ask you this question. I always get it wrong. Highest scoring game of the week. What are you going for?
You know what? I'm going to go for Spurs Liverpool.
Ooh, nice. Nice.
Spurs seem a lot more like on it with their attacking.
Yeah.
And Liverpool like to concede, as I've just mentioned with prime evidence. So yeah, I'm going to go Spurs Liverpool. I could see that being a high scoring draw. I could see a 3-3 out of that.
All right, I can get on board with that. I'm going to go rogue as always. I'm going to go Fulham Chelsea.
Like it screams 0-0.
Yeah, it does. It does, mate. And that is why it is prime candidate for just goal season. Now that not Carlton Morris, I keep saying it. Nicholas Jackson is gone. They're just the floodgates are gonna open. Watch.
Who's gonna play up front? Will it be Sterling? Do you think?
Brozier came off the bench for a bit, but
okay.
Could be Brozier, could be Sterling, could be Ben Chilwell at this rate. That would be typical FPL, wouldn't it?
Fully.
Is Saliba for Trippier worth taking a hit for immediately, as despite Arsenal playing Bournemouth? There we go. I eventually got the question out there. So is it worth taking a -4?
Trippier in.
Yeah, for a -4.
Oh, I'd probably say no.
I think I'd agree with that point.
It's tight. I get why he's tempted because of the home fixture to Burnley, but I just feel like didn't Saliba score his little worldie against Bournemouth as well? So if we're remembering like the mentality aspect of games, Saliba probably fancies a goal in this game.
You've said it now. He's going to absolutely spank it top corner, isn't he?
Would you remember he did that last time?
Yeah, I remember that. I think it was Bournemouth as well.
Yeah.
Pretty sure it was Bournemouth. Right, we're going to call it there because we want to go and watch the football and enjoy it.
Oh, no, that's fine. We can keep going for an hour.
Oh, that's it. We're staying on. But yeah, we are going to go watch the football. We're going to enjoy it. I will be live on Saturday morning for the deadline stream, as always, on TikTok and YouTube. So if you have got any questions, come to that stream, as I do try to answer as many as possible. But, sometimes it gets a little bit mental. And, it's not ideal. But I'll try and answer as many as I can. And hopefully at that point, I've found a solution for my team. And it's not just, scribblings on little bits of paper and just me going a little bit mental. But yeah, thank you very much for watching today, ladies and gentlemen. And enjoy the rest of your week. And good luck in double game week 7.